I'm here at the start of the Wellington Caves fossil trail. Wellington Caves is highly unusual because it's a site of two very different fossil records. One from the Devonian, hundreds of millions of years ago, and the other from the Australian Megafauna era that's less than 1 million years ago. This is actually the first place from which the Australian Megafauna were found, including some absolutely astonishing species, including diprotodons, often referred to as 3-ton wombats, although some people think that's not quite accurate, and possibly the largest birds that ever existed. I'm here with a statue of a diprotodon, the so-called 3-ton wombats that once roamed Australia. Diprotodons were incredibly widespread across Australia at one time. However, the first one ever scientifically described used bones that came from Wellington Cave. They were shipped to England because that's where research was happening in those days. And at first, they were thought to be from an elephant or something similar, maybe from before Noah's flood, was the thinking of the day. But as they looked closer, it became obvious this was no elephant. The recognition that diprotodonts were marsupials and had a lot in common with wombats contributed to the realisation that species that were similar to each other, living and dead, tended to occupy the same territory, or at least the same continents. This seems obvious to us today, but to Darwin, this was a stepping stone towards his realisation that these species had evolved from each other. Contrary to myth, diprotodonts didn't evolve into wombats. Both of them evolved from a common ancestor, but they are relatively close relatives, with koalas being somewhat more distant relatives of the surviving wombats today. In addition to being the site that launched the research into megafauna and the first described megafauna species, Wellington Caves is very much a living research site. More than 60 species of animals have been found in the caves, washed there in floods, with their bones washed down into the caves and preserved there. This includes some species that were first found there, in some cases only found there, and includes some really remarkable animals. There is the giant echidna, double the size of any echidna today. These enormous bats, which actually lived quite a bit earlier than the other species who have been described at this site, and Thylacoleo, also known as the marsupial lion. Two Thylacoleo skulls were, in fact, almost complete bodies, were found here just in the last couple of years, one of which had a baby in the pouch. And this species is remarkable in terms of its teeth and jaw, one of the most terrifying jaws you can imagine, with a bite force possibly stronger than any other marsupial.